Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Ditch Decade Diets podcast. I am your host, Lorna, certified food freedom coach and founder of the Ditch Decade Diets Academy. I've spent 10 years in an unhealthy relationship with food, binge eating, over-exercising, and feeling insecure in my body. This podcast is all about helping you get to the root of your food struggles and teaching you how to rewire your brain so you can end binge eating. If you're ready to improve your relationship with food and cultivate more self-love towards yourself and your health, this is the podcast for you. So let's get to it and jump right in. I just had the most amazing weekend celebrating my birthday with the love of my life, Mr. Bean, Andrew. It's all the same person, my husband. Call him Mr. Bean, Andrew Costa, and my family. And we went to Palladium. We did the little arcade games. And then we also went to the horse races, which is just so much fun. And I have a very important lesson that I want to share with you about being intuitive and being decisive. And I'm going to reflect this back and relate it back to your relationship with food. So we got to the horse races. And if you've ever gone to horse races, essentially how it is, it's like there's a bunch of different horses that you can choose from. And you can either say, I want this horse to win, which means the horse needs to come in first. You can either say the horse needs to place. So the horse needs to either come in first or second place. Or I want to go with show, where the horse needs to either come in first, second, or third. And so there's typically, for the most part, about 10 horses that you can choose from. Again, obviously, every single horse race is different, but the one that I went at, I think there was usually about 10 horses that you can choose from, especially the first race, there was 10. And you just have to choose, what horse you want, and do you want it to win, place, or show? And so we get to the horse races, and it's time to, select your horse. And so I was like, I'm going to be super intuitive. I'm going to be super decisive. And I'm just going to really tap into my intuition. I'm not going to let myself overthink. As soon as I see a horse that's calling at me and I'm like, this is the one, I'm not changing my decision. This is it. And that's it. And so, of course, in Lorna fashion, there was a horse that it had the color purple, and the number was 10. So they all have colors kind of beside their name and also a number. And I was like, there we go. 10's my favorite number and purple is my favorite color. Let's go. Did not overthink. Literally within 5 seconds, I'm like, this is the horse. And the horse, we watched the horse race, and it ended up, I said I wanted to go into show, so either first, second, or third, and it ended up coming, I can't remember if it was second or third place, but I ended up, hitting the nail on the head, and my horse technically won because I said show, whether it comes in first, second, or third, and it did that. And I listened to my intuition, and I got the result that I was looking for. With your relationship with food, there's going to be times where you are extremely intuitive and you're like, you know what? I really want the sweet potato fries, and you order the sweet potato fries, and guess what? It works out for you. You eat until you're satisfied, you eat until you're comfortably full, and you can simply move on with your day. There's going to be times with your relationship with food where you're listening to your intuition and you say, no, thank you. I actually don't want the cake for dessert. And you feel really good about that. You go to bed and you're like, I'm so glad that I didn't have the cake because I'm actually still kind of full. There's going to be times where you listen to your intuition and it works out in your favor. But there's going to be times where you listen to your intuition and it does not work out in your favor. So, for example, one of the other races, I was like, okay, going to continue listening to my intuition. Do not overthink. And so we were looking at all the different names of the horses, and there was one, and the name was really cool. It was like Fish Mooney or something like that. And I'm like, I'm going to go with this one. This just sounds kind of cool. I don't look at the ratings of the horses. I know you're supposed to be so strategic. And I'm like, I'm just going to be very intuitive, and I'm just going to go with this horse because I really like this name. Anyways, I'm like, I'm going to choose this one. And I didn't overthink. I didn't say, which one should I go through? But like, should I actually do this one? Like, it's actually not that big of a deal. I'm like, just freaking make a decision. What do you want? And so I'm like, this is the one that I want to place. And I was like so confident. I was like so sure of my decision. Not that I thought that this horse was going to win, but I'm like, I don't want to overthink. Just decide. And I listened to my intuition. Okay. So I made a fast decision. My sister and I were literally peeing ourselves laughing because we actually ended up choosing the exact same horse. And it was like one of the slowest horses on the racetrack. And we were just dying of laughter because like this couldn't have been any funnier. Like, I don't know. We just found it so funny because it's like, we were like, we're going to go with this one. It has like the coolest name. Like our horse is going to win. And it literally came, I think, in like second last place. Does it mean that I was wrong for listening to my intuition? Oh, well, the horse didn't win, so like your intuition must be broken. No. This is where people get things mixed up. Oh, but like I listened to my intuition and I did really want the ice cream, but I ended up binging. So like maybe I shouldn't have listened to my intuition. No. So you know what? I just have to say, no, I cannot have the ice cream. That's not true. It's not true. You're going to sometimes listen to your intuition and it might not always be correct. Listening to your intuition is not every single time I listen to my intuition, I need to be 100,000,000% sure that this is the right decision and it better work out in my favor. That's control. That's not intuition. Intuition is this feels right for me in this moment. This feels good for me in this moment. But I do not control the outcome because I literally cannot. Could I control that my horse was going to win? No. What could I control? I could control that I am going to choose a horse that I feel like, yes, this is the one. I'm going to choose it. I had control over that. I don't have control over the outcome. So same with your relationship with food. You don't necessarily have control over the outcome. Let's say, if you go to a restaurant and maybe the food upsets your stomach, or maybe like the food is just so good and maybe you end up like overindulging a little bit. It's like you don't sometimes have full control over that. Of course, yes, you can be more mindful, all the things, but like if certain foods, let's say, bloat you, but you listen to your intuition and you're like, yes, I really wanted the ice cream. Is it wrong that you said I wanted the ice cream? No, but you're making it wrong because you're like, oh, well, I ended up having a stomach ache. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have listened to your intuition. What's worse is this going to hurt my stomach? Oh my God, what if it does? Oh my God, am I going to be bloated afterwards? But should I really, you going back and forth in your mind is actually the worst thing that you can do. Imagine if I sat here at the horse races, which it's not even that big of a deal. Like we bet $2 on the horses. Like it's not even that big of a deal. And I have another thing that I want to talk about after this, but it was like, imagine if I just sat here like, oh, but I really want this one. Oh, but should I? How about this horse? Oh, maybe I should go with this one. Maybe I should do this one. And you're like so in your head, it's like, that's not going to be helpful. That's not going to be helpful. So being intuitive doesn't mean that you need to always be right. Being intuitive means this feels good for me right now. This is what I want to do right now. And I am going to surrender the outcome and just trust that I made the right decision. That's it. What you might say, oh, well, but I ended up, having a stomach ache. Okay, but at that given time, right? It's like you wanted it. So that was actually a good decision because you did want it. You were craving it. And if you didn't honor that, you probably would have felt even worse. And maybe you would have had a lot more. So you need to listen to your intuition, but listening to your intuition doesn't always mean I need to be 100% correct. Now, for one of the other races, it was hilarious because there was one horse that I can't remember what the name was, but when I first glanced at the book that had all the different horses on it, it looked like my name. It wasn't my name, but when I just first quickly looked, it looked like my name. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. My first initial instinct was go with that horse. And I chose to not listen to my intuition. I'm like, I'm going to go with something different instead. And I kind of felt like rebellious. And I'm like, this is what my intuition is telling me. Go with the one that is kind of similar to your name. But I didn't listen to my intuition that time. And it was hilarious because the horse that I chose that wasn't my intuition, it didn't win. And when I was going to choose the horse that had the similar name to me, that horse ended up winning. And again, so it's hilarious because sometimes when you listen to your intuition, it works out in your favor. And sometimes when you listen to your intuition, it doesn't work out in your favor. But what I will say for certain is when you have an intuitive pull of like, this is what I want to do, and you overthink and you second guess and you go back and forth in your mind, you will be upset that you did not listen to your intuition in the first place. Because when the horse raced, I'm like, I was going to choose that one. And so again, relating this back to your relationship with food, maybe you have initial instinct of like, maybe the initial instinct is like, no, I actually don't really want dessert. But then everyone else is getting dessert. So okay, maybe I should. And then you end up having a stomach ache and you're like, oh, see, I should have listened to my intuition in the first place. So no matter what, the whole point of this conversation is to trust and listen to your intuition. Stop overthinking. Stop, what is everyone else doing? Like, stop getting in your head. Just start being more intuitive. And I used to not be intuitive at all. I used to be such a logical person. Like, okay, like, does this make logical sense? And now I will say I'm a very intuitive person, but that doesn't mean like, oh, because I'm intuitive, I have the answers to absolutely everything. No, but I listen to what feels good for me. And I don't take time to overthink. Of course, with my decisions with food, I'm very intuitive, but also in life. And so if you aren't very intuitive with your food choices, start being more intuitive in your life, right? Like even when you're out shopping and it's like, do I really want to get this sweater or do I not? It's like, just make a decision, yes or no, right? The more that you can start being more intuitive in your life, it's also the more intuitive you're going to be with your food choices. And also with your food choices, just start being more intuitive. Stop worrying about, but is this going to be the right thing? You're not going to know unless you actually just make a decision. So go and be intuitive and do not try to control the outcome. I cannot control the horses racing on the racetrack, but what I can control is what sounds good for me right now. What horse, so to speak, is calling my name. Like, just make a decision. And then also have fun with it. Was I like crying because my horse lost? No, right? It's like my sister and I were like just peeing ourselves laughing. It's like, it's actually like the slowest horse. And we were just laughing. And sometimes you might, make a decision with your relationship with food and maybe it didn't go out as planned. And instead of like beating yourself up, it's like, okay, like, it's fine. Like, guess what? Tomorrow's a brand new day. Or, the next meal is another opportunity. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. Right? So all things to really think about. Now, something else that popped up in my mind as well too is, so we don't bet a lot of money. Like we literally bet $2 on, like that's like the minimum bet. We just go for fun. Like we're not here to do anything crazy. But some people bet, $100, $200, $1,000, $2,000. I'm sure people bet way, way, way more. And obviously, if you have if you're putting a lot of like money into this, like, and you're betting a lot, then of course you're going to be like, I need to make the right decision. I need to take 25 hours to decide what I'm going to choose because I cannot afford to lose this, right? And with your relationship with food, if you're putting so much weight on yourself of like this one decision, what I'm choosing to eat at this restaurant is going to make me either lose weight or gain weight, like it's such a big deal, then of course you're going to take a long time deciding. Of course you're going to take a long time deciding because this is actually, you're making it seem like it's a really big deal. Just like somebody betting at the horse races, $1,000, $2,000 for one race, they're going to want to take their time. They're going to want to be strategic. They're going to want to make sure that they, are serious about this. And if you go to the restaurant and you're like, yeah, this is such a big deal. Like what I order today is either going to make me lose 20 pounds or gain 20 pounds. Like I better make the right decision. If you're holding that much weight, and obviously, that's pretty dramatic, but if you're putting that much weight on yourself, you are going to be terrified to make the wrong decision. And this is where you're spending so long deciding because you're seeing this as like, if I make the wrong decision, the consequences are so big. But it's actually not that. It's not that. right? It doesn't, you don't have to be putting such a heavy weight on yourself. It's like, you're going to go to another restaurant another day, right? But again, if you don't go out for dinner quite a lot, then again, it's going to be like, this one time that I go, I have to make the right decision. If you don't go out for ice cream a lot, then the one time you go out for ice cream, it's like, I literally need to choose the ice cream that's going to be most satisfying for me. But again, you don't know, right? You might not know that. You might not know that. So it's like, you can't expect yourself, again, to control the outcome. You cannot expect yourself to control the outcome. And it will take time to get to learn your body and to be more intuitive. So I wanted to share this podcast episode for you because, man, this just like, it's just so clear to me. It's so clear to me that the people who are more decisive, they heal their relationship with food so much faster because they learn, okay, well, what could I do differently? Like, they learn. But the people that are like, I don't know, like, should I do this or should I not do that? It's like you delay the process because you're so afraid of making the wrong decision that you actually just don't decide. Like, just decide, make a decision. Do not try to control the outcome. Make a decision that feels right for you in that moment, not what Sally Sue is doing or like anything else. It's like, make a decision that feels right for you in your heart and your soul, and then run with it. And it's not like, oh, well, I listened to my intuition and I still overate. But again, it's not about that. It's the fact that you listen to your intuition. And then again, you learn, you extract the feedback, you extract the wisdom, and then you can make adjustments for next time. So go be intuitive. Listen to that pull that your body is telling you. You're hungry, go and eat. Don't overthink. Oh, yes, you don't want dessert. Like, that's fine. Make that decision. Okay, you know what? I'm going to be confident in that. You know what? I'm fine. I don't want dessert. Like, be confident in that. Be intuitive. Stop trying to control the outcome. And I promise you, this is not only going to change and support your relationship with food, but this is just going to help you in so many different areas of your life.